Okay, hello and welcome. Please let me know how we're doing on the audio if you're here. I know we've had a little bit of difficulty in the past. I have tried to turn down the game audio, and I will try to speak up a little bit today. So, hello and welcome. I am Zilla. This is my ancient gaming stream where I play video games and talk about their ancient studies content. Today we are returning to the cave. Um, so, for anyone who is just joining us today, I believe this is my third or fourth stream of the cave. Um, we started with the knight's story, um, and we will proceed on to probably the adventurer next. So that's our adventurer. So this is a game where we play three people exploring a mystical, self-aware cave that narrates our story for us in search of their deepest desires. And, we'll see what that's like. The real reason I'm here is because these folks that we are playing are from all across time and space, getting a broad view of several different eras of history and potential history. And I wanted to talk about all of the different ways that we think about, represent, and interact with the past. So, if you do want to see the first couple of streams, all of my live streams are recorded and sent to my YouTube channel, Zilla's Athenaeum. You can check out all of my socials below, and hey, if you like it enough, you can donate to me here or on Ko-fi or Patreon. Feel free to say hi in chat, and let's get going. Sploosh. Anything interesting here? Well, we've got boxes, luggage, might be a treasure chest. Not entirely sure what area we're in just now. One of the interstitial spaces. And of course they do require that you use all three characters for certain things. So...
Just because you can pull a lever doesn't mean you should. Our intrepid trio may not give this kind of seismic meddling a second thought, but choices have consequences. I've played host to more truth seekers than any human would care to count, and I know an omen when I see it. Trust me, this is ominous. Ominous? Ominous. Yeah, no, yeah. Ominous. Oh, never mind.
Yes, ominous does come from the word omen, the meaning of a bad omen, generally, in terms of how we use it in English. So, yes, that is a fair concern. But as for not pulling a lever just because you can, I mean, they wouldn't be here if they weren't that kind of person. But also, there was no other way across, so, you know. Looks like we have some gold veins peeking out of the cave here. I don't know if that's actually how gold veins look in real life. Let's see, what have we got over here? Don't know. Too thick for our time traveler to move through. So... flames, bats. We have some kind of gear, so we're in a more modern area, maybe. Some gold nuggets in the foreground there for us. definitely some of these rock areas. I wonder if there's dynamite around. With all these flames and rocks. Well, hard to say. Oh, we have a skeleton in the foreground. Looks like a human adventurer with a mining lamp. So, some interesting detail there. Somebody from a relatively current era. Hi, Fane Abyssal. Great to see you. Not a problem at all. Glad to have you here. I am doing okay. This game is The Cave. We are in a magical talking cave, who is our narrator, and we get to play 3 different intrepid explorers, as the cave likes to call them, who are searching in the depths for their heart's desire. Each one of them will have a little distinct area, and there will be some interesting things going on. So, most likely what is happening there is that we have just passed by some areas that other characters would have used. No telling what's here, or why there's a little thing. Okay, what have we got in the background here? It looks like some kind of prehistoric bug, maybe? It's huge. Unlikely to get a whole giant bug surviving like that without amber or something to preserve its exoskeleton, but as we have observed via our time traveler, our 1940s adventurer, and our medieval knight friend, time is not exactly realistic down here. Though there were a lot of giant bugs in prehistoric times.
Who are you? Was it you that caused that cave-in? I know it was. Now my 3 mine cars is trapped in these caverns and caves. You'll bring those mine cars back if you know what's good for you. Maybe this dynamite will convince you. I need all 3 of those mine cars back, you hear? I got plenty more dynamite where this came from.
Okay, looks like dynamite is in fact in our future. So, okay, we can pick up a can of corn. Do I know why I'm picking up a can of corn? No, I do not. But it's funny. But yes, so
How am I supposed to bust through those cave-ins? I need my stuff. Bring me my stuff. I need it. Who are you anyway?
I love this
Get
guy.
out of my mind. Wait, no. Bring back my mine cars. Then get out of my mind. Big Nebbit.
Uh-oh.
Present.
I love the voice acting in Double Fine games. It's so ridiculous. So we have our sort of gold rush seeming fellow here tossing endless bouts of dynamite at us for that cave-in that we caused with our indiscriminate pulling of levers that we were warned about. So hopefully we can get past this section relatively quickly.
Well, you know what they say. It wasn't the prospectors who made all the money. It was the merchants who sold blood pressure medication.
Yes.
Are you still here? You get me those gall-darn mine cars.
Oh man, it blew me up.
I will tell you again. Get me my 3 mine cars. Oh, okay, I will tell you again.
You
Get me my 3 mine cars.
will in fact tell me again.
I know you caused that cave-in. Now you've got to make it good. I've been down here so long, I just want my stuff back.
Yes, I do message when I am going to be streaming. It is generally every Saturday, although this month has been way less than usual. But you can follow me on my socials. I post every time I'm going to stream. I post several hours ahead of time on my Blue Sky, on Mastodon, and also if you are in any of my Discord servers that I'm a part of, which are mostly servers for various other left tube folks. But I do try to advertise. I am not on X. Uh, no. Use the shovel. Ah. Yeah. Yes, I do post every time I'm going to stream. I do post on the Leftist Cooks Discord, which is probably how you found me. And I will be. I do try to announce on my Patreon if I know my schedule ahead of time. And I try to make those posts public, so, like, if you don't have the money to contribute, that is fine. Okay, so we can't go any further back than that. That's fine. Alright, I have an idea. Okay, we don't really need a can of corn.
Here.
But I
I'll
do
trade
want a
you all
bucket.
stick of this dynamite if you bring back all 3 mine cars. Hell, I'll trade all my dynamite.
Good,
There
because
comes a
I'll
time
want
in
it.
a man's life when he needs his 3 mine cars back, and that time is now. I've had just about enough of not having my mine cars.
So yes, I don't normally stream anytime other than 3 p.m. on Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. Haha, it worked. Okay. Somehow I'm traveling around on these ropes and ladders with a bucket of water without spilling it. Don't worry about it too hard, I guess. Okay. Toss me a dynamite.
Are y'all trying to chisel me or what? Give me my stuff back.
Okay. So now I have dynamite. So generally, if you are looking to catch all my streams when they're live, I would suggest checking whichever place you found me on Saturdays to see if there is an announcement, because I do generally post that as soon as I know. If I don't know ahead of time, that's pretty unusual. Usually I'll also have an announcement at the end of my previous stream. Fine, blow yourself up. It's not like I care. Oh, well, thank you for coming from my YouTube channel. I think that it is a great deal of fun to have folks following from there as well. Ah, looks like we have a weight-based puzzle. So where... We've got more of those giant pincers in the background as well as gears.
So the old miner's instincts were right. There is a mine car trapped back here. He may have overreacted a bit, but at a certain age, you've got to do something to get you up in the morning. Even if what gets you up in the morning is a dangerous lack of interpersonal skills and anger management issues.
Oh my goodness. A minecart full of ham hocks. Cartoon meat. Getting dust all over it. So, this is one of those puzzles where we have to use our multiple characters. Nope. Nope. Off with you. Eventually I'll remember how this works. Oh, of course. Oh, we've got a memory up here, so each of our characters gets some memories. Let's see, this is a time traveler one. So, just to review our time traveler's backstory, what we have so far, we have a setting, the year 2701, with, all the flying cars and nonsense that we depict our futures with. And apparently, our time traveler is an employee of the Museum of Ancient History from 1999 to 2120. And now we have greatest employee of all time, not him. So apparently some work rivalries going on here. Alright, so speaking of our time traveler, oh, right. Gonna need all three of our folks to get through here. Come on, shovel, let's get moving. No, stop that. Oh, actually, no, that's fine, isn't it? So this bucket of meat weighs as much as a person. Nope, not going to be able to do it in that order. Alright, so we got to shove our little minecart over here. And then get everybody else back to the top. So there's a chance I might stream a little bit extra today because I know I won't be available next week. I'll be out of town. So hopefully we can stream at least through one person's section today, but possibly two.
My victuals! Feller can build up a powerful hunger down here. I'm gonna roast me up some canaries.
Womp womp. Canaries in a coal mine. Although, we're not exactly in a coal mine, are we? How do I get back out of here? Alright, come on. That's not who I wanted, but that's fine. So now we're gonna have to go get some more. Oops. Let's grab some more dynamite.
You better get me all 3 mine cars. All 3. You got that now? Can't pull one over on this miner. No, sir.
Nope. Dynamite, please. Let's go blow up some more rocks. Indiscriminate use of dynamite is definitely fine in a cave where we've already had seismic activity. Definitely not a problem. Oops. All the way back down. Rude. Alright. Let's light some dynamite. And since I can't die... Hi, DJ Trundlebot. Starting to think this cave might not be safe. Indeed. On the other hand, we can't die. Oh, now getting a closer look at those bugs. Maybe they're mechanical. Maybe they're future tech. Weird. Or some kind of alternate timeline. Okay, so we have some kind of money sniff test machine. That's not weird at all. Okay. Oh, they're not bugs. They're claw machines. So I gotta activate a claw machine to pick up the gold and put it in a minecart? Alright. Sure. But first, I have a new memory. So, our knight's story started out as a peasant boy picking turnips or something. Saw a knight on the road have a heart attack, stole his stuff and his horse, leaving the guy half naked on the road for the crows. And does not do knightly stuff, evidently. It looks like we have some people getting mugged and their stuff stolen. And our knight just whistling. Oops. I don't think we've gotten that one yet. So, claw lever. Does this work the way I think it does? It absolutely does. But we need the minecart to be there when it drops. Now we gotta get out of here again. One thing I will say about the gameplay here is that they could have made slightly better use of the just having the other two catch up to you. So they really only have it at checkpoints, and it's pretty clear that it would have been useful in this situation. Oh, is that... It almost looks like writing, but I think it's just meant to be gold veins. So we can stop it here, but I'm guessing... Oh, no, it actually works that way, huh? Nifty. Alright then. And on the minecart goes. As if it wouldn't lose its load in that kind of nonsense. But gold is heavy.
My gold! I thought you was gone for good. Time to get down to some serious hoarding. Now see here, I still needs me my last minecart, dagnabbit.
Oh boy. So... The, One thing that's funny to me about the cave, right, is like all of these random people, they're clearly you can't live in this cave. So like they're just part of the cave, right? They have to be. So when it's talking about consequences for thoughtless actions and stuff like that, it's oh, come on. Just grab the dang rope. Get off the ladder. Pick up the bucket.
This will not stand.
Sure it will.
I ain't gonna take no more abuse from the likes of you.
Abuse. Yeah, sure. So now I gotta find the third part of this cave that has rocks for blowing up. So I did that one, right? So it's gonna be up here. Oh. I think it did not register that button press, but that's okay. There we are. Alright. So let's light it on fire. Let's see if you'll actually drop it this time. Hey, you didn't die. Good job. Oh, we've got an adventurer memory. Upset partners. Yeah, that's not a surprise. So we start out with the glory of a discovery, which is our adventure with two intrepid companions, Indiana Jonesing some diamond somewhere. Then pictures of her hogging all the glory, various discoveries, and her partners not feeling great about that, and here they are being not feeling great about that. Some kind of big argument. So, fun, fun. I love the little monkey in the background, just eating some of presumably their food. That makes me happy. That was not that high. I mean, okay, yeah, it is that high. But, like, this is video game physics, not real life. Okay. Minecart number 3. That's where it's going, but it's empty. What is it supposed to have in it? Nothing? Okay. I don't see anything around here, so... Oh. Well, it's supposed to have something, I guess. Let go, please. There's nothing here. This is the way I came. This is where that memory was. Come on. let go. Huh. Maybe it's supposed to have me in it. Oh. Yep, there's some kind of switch. Alrighty. Well, let's get that back. Up we go. Never mind that, just some guy who put on a bunch of armor is not going to have the strength to run around in that plate armor. Just run and jump like it's made of aluminum. Huh. It didn't... Oh, right. Of course. This is why they gave us a shovel. Never discount a shovel. Shovel is your main adventuring tool when it comes to indie games with 3 explorers stuck in some kind of unknown underground system. Right? The dig? If you haven't seen my series on the dig, it is like that game is my childhood. Shovel Knight, yeah, good point. Shovel Knight makes excellent use of this simple tool. Oh, come on. Nope. In. She's the only one who doesn't want to get in it. Of course you want to get in it. Bam. Well, it's a good thing she's an adventurer.
Here it is, my special empty mine car. A miner can't have enough empty mine cars.
Oh, look at that. Those mine cars meant the world to that old guy. Maybe a reward is in order, hmm?
A reward like falling? Yeah.
Cal, now go! Come back, go!
The miner wasn't such a bad guy. He was down here a long time, and that'll take its toll. Obtaining the thing you desire most isn't always as hard as it's made out to be. But it will change you, and that, my friends, is what's hard.
Interesting. So the miner is indicated to be a previous intrepid adventurer. Oh, so we've got some Egyptian-looking cartouches down here in very strange orientation. So we've got... So Egyptian writing, there are a bunch of different forms and a bunch of different time periods that this spans, but the way that we generally talk about ancient Egyptian writing is hieroglyphics. So these are full pictographs, so like a fully drawn out snake or ibis or whatever, in a sequence. They're put together to make sounds, so they're often just consonant sounds, and we don't always know what the vowels are, much like modern Hebrew or Arabic, which don't write the vowels for most things. Um, so, like, let's, if we talk about, a word that most people have heard in ancient Egyptian, a god's name, um, we might see just the consonants of it. Unfortunately, so the one that I always think of is we pronounce it as Thoth. That is actually not really related to how it's written. More accurate transcriptions of it, they tend to call him Jehuti. So that's Djehuty is usually the spelling I see. But like I said, this isn't a one for one at all. So that would generally be written with a j, a h, and a t, and then we might get some indication from surrounding things or from transcriptions into other languages exactly how that gets put together. And yes, DJ Trundlebot, that was my next point. So, when you see hieroglyphics, they're often just written in a simple sequence, but sometimes they'll be put in this round shape with a bar at one side. It's usually vertical with the bar at the bottom, and that's called a cartouche. And that is to contain a name, specifically. I don't actually know. I should probably have asked whether it's specifically divine names, which is what we usually see written as a god's name or a pharaoh's name or something like that, or whether it's all names that get cartouches. I think it's all names get cartouches, but they are usually vertical. And certainly they don't go back and forth the way this appears to, where we have cartouches going both directions and then facing each other. So we have what do not actually appear to be hieroglyphics at all in there. They look a lot more like story drawings, like a frieze, but it's in a cartouche, which would indicate a spelled out name. So like it looks like so I can't really see clearly what's drawn on the furthest left wall here. Let me see if I can get a little further away. Oh, okay, it's just two things repeating. So I'll just go over the two in the middle. So we have what appears to be a fairly typical basic drawing of a person with dark red or brown skin in a loin drape, a white loin drape. So in Egypt, you would mostly get clothing woven out of linen, which lent itself a lot to white clothing. But they were also they were amazingly diverse and rich in their colors and in their dyes, in their embroidery, in their metalwork. They would have lots and lots of jewelry, lots of gemstones. So there was a huge array of different dress styles that you might see, but the basic one that we see most often is this sort of loin drape. I believe it's called a sarat, but I could be wrong about that. And it's just sort of a basic skirt. And it usually has a belt around the top with some kind of decoration. You might also see a hat. I mean, living primarily in the desert of that area where it is very, very hot, you would want some kind of protection for your eyes, your face, if you were out away from the Nile. It could be very sandy, so you would want to wrap up even more. But it's also just really, really warm. so, so you get some protection, but also some concessions for the heat. White is very good for that, so even though you do have fantastical colors that were available to them, a lot of the clothing was represented as white, as plain and undyed linen, so that it would, linen is very light in color, so it'll reflect away a lot of that heat rather than absorbing it. And also, it's very loosely woven oftentimes, so that there will be a breeze coming through it. And Egyptians also were kind of famous for having very sheer clothing available to them, especially the higher ranked ones. Of course, that will change as you, with wealth, of how much color and different styles of material you can have. But that is a pretty basic form, is the white loincloth or skirt. So we appear to have this guy in an expression of dismay, holding his head, and some motion lines, which are a fairly modern thing, over something that has been dropped. I can't quite tell whether that's a bucket, probably, or a rock. I'm not sure. And then we have this big old snake. So maybe the snake was in the bucket. It looks very story. And then we have a shark, which is not, to my knowledge, in the set of drawings that we normally get from around the Mediterranean. I can't think of any shark representations from ancient Egypt, but that doesn't mean there aren't any. They might well have had some, but certainly not a common shape. And that is separating our two little story cartouches. Our second story cartouche has another dark-skinned person wearing a loin wrap and some kind of headpiece, also appearing to be white linen, with a fishing pole. Fishing into water drawn very much like a modern person would draw water, with the little like wavelets. That's not a common depiction that I've seen in the ancient world. It's usually more rolling, or even flat. And then we have a very simple boat out there with a single sail. It does not look like an Egyptian bark. So for sailing up and down the Nile, a lot of their boats were actually very flat and wide, with fairly low sides. So the Nile is actually a pretty flat river, and a lot of the way that they got around was they would sail downstream and pole upstream. So this does look to be a foreign boat from across the water. This looks much more like a European boat, possibly Greek, but possibly any number of other places. So that's interesting. So you have a guy fishing in apparently the ocean, and a foreign boat. Now, to be clear, I don't think that these were necessarily thought out in that level of detail, although I do think it's interesting to talk about it and, to look at what images they thought might be fun. So the guy with the snake, I think that's really interesting. It reminds me of the story of Cleopatra, which is one of the first things a lot of people think when they think of ancient Egypt, right? The story goes that she either killed herself or was assassinated by sneaking in a poisonous snake in a casket, in a bottle or something, and then it bit her, because she was under house arrest during a very complicated and fraught period of Roman history. Her husband, Mark Antony, was one of the two people competing to be recognized as the Emperor of Rome, alongside Augustus, who, as you may have realized, was the winner in that particular fight. And she was under lockdown while Augustus figured out what he wanted to do with her. which she probably didn't want to do, to be fair, as it probably would have involved killing both of her children with Mark Antony. Um, so, so that image that evokes a sense of Egypt, right? Of Roman Egypt, of the mysterious and romantic past that we often think of, because of course the way that this is memorialized, when you talk about Cleopatra, you often are talking about, oh, the great romance, the dire victory, the romantic ending of a poor suicide victim. Like it gets romanticized in this way when we don't think about all of the political consequences that led up to this, and political ramifications of it, and political reasons that it happened in that way. Um, you know, I I want to say that Augustus's PR campaign was the single most successful propaganda campaign in all of history, because nearly 2,000 years later, we're still celebrating him as the first Roman emperor, and people are depicting Mark Antony as this vile brute who betrayed Rome. It's a very interesting scenario. Um, but I don't know why we have the shark or the fisherman in the sea. Like, neither of those things scream ancient Egypt perception to me. So I would be really curious to ask somebody in the art design on this game why they chose those symbols. And now back to gameplay.
Now, what of the adventurer? She and her partners are on the cusp of the greatest archaeological find of her career, but the priceless sarcophagus she seeks may never make it out of that pyramid, and neither may her companions. But at this point in our story, that should surprise no one.
Oh, okay. So we are apparently chasing a sarcophagus in a pyramid. So there are lots of pyramids, actually. Not a ton, but more than just three. Um, we we do know that some of them were used as tombs for ancient Egyptian monarchs, pharaohs, who were thought of as gods in life, passing into the divinity of death, and were often surrounded with things that they would need in the afterlife, if the afterlife was like our world. So, offerings of fine food, clothing, jewelry, animals, servants, sometimes would be found with them. But we also know that not every pharaoh has a pyramid, and not every pyramid has a pharaoh. There's still a lot of questions about details of their construction, although we do know some things. We do know, for instance, that um, the pyramids were not constructed by Jewish slaves. That doesn't work out at all. The timeline doesn't work. We know that. That was a great theory for a long time. People like to put about, particularly because of the story of Jewish exile in Egypt and the exodus from it. That is not to say that there's no truth in that story, because there almost certainly is at least some. Uh, but the pyramids were not built by Jewish slaves. They were built by Egyptian architects and engineers and their servants. Um, if slaves built the pyramid, it was probably just a more general thing. That being said, we do find the core... Not aliens. Look, I love Stargate. I love it to bits. But Ancient Aliens is really racist. The whole Ancient Aliens thing is just, it's... Oh boy, how much of this rant to go on right now. Let's just say that I appreciate that my problematic fave, Stargate SG-1, went out of its way to say white people relics were just as much aliens as anywhere else, because that is not usually what you get when you talk about ancient aliens. Um, do the big three pyramids line up with Orion's belt? Yes. That's not because aliens came from there, that's just because there were bright, shiny stars in the sky, and the Egyptians knew a lot about the heavens. They were out in the desert with low light pollution and low everything pollution. They studied the stars. They could make lots of detailed calculations about where things were in the sky and how they moved in relation to us. They knew that the world was round. It's not. I don't have a lot of patience for for these kind of conspiracy theories. Um, I do know that DJ Trundlebot is a fan of all of that silliness, not in the thinking it's real way, but in the wow, people are funny. Um, so we do know we found quarries where these rocks have been, like, we can tell that they were cut out and created. I just recently saw a news item that we may have found a human made channel of the river that the stones would be ferried up in order to work on the construction. That's that is my skimming of a new headline. I don't take it as fact. Just a thing that we may have uncovered, but it's one of the theories of how this worked. Certainly, they had the technology, they had the manpower, they could definitely build these things. There's nothing all that special about it, other than the will and determination to do it. And they would have been painted, capped in gold, all sorts of beautiful work on the outside and the inside. We preserve a lot of what's on the inside, where there were these lovely bas reliefs, these carvings with all of these wonderful, friezes of gods and humans and rituals and mythology of people's lives. Lots of hieroglyphic writing, hieroglyphics. The hiero in hieroglyphics is holy. This is priestly writing. So, hiero, holy, glyph, writing, hieroglyphs. Um, so, these places were monumental undertakings in every sense of the word. And they often contain a lot of treasure, not necessarily in the golden artifacts way, although that too, but also in terms of knowledge and artistry and care. These were wonders in the ancient world as well as now. One thing that I do like when it's pointed out is that Cleopatra was actually closer to us in terms of time than she was to the building of the Great Three Pyramids. Like that is Egypt's time span is enormous, enormous. So invoking Cleopatra and invoking the Great Pyramids in the same thing compresses thousands of years of history and change and civilization. Ancient Egypt is an absolutely fascinating place with a wealth of history that I only barely know the surface of. That being said, I do want to point to these obelisks in the back. So we've got, these sort of columns where you can see that they've got some kind of carvings in them. So obelisks are a reasonably common style of decoration. They would have, words carved into them. They would have friezes carved into them. They were memorials, monuments made, to commemorate something, generally a victory or some kind of special place. And so that the fact that we have them here just strewn about haphazardly is more about decor than it is about realism. That's hardly surprising in this setting. And then I want to talk about these cats. So, another thing that we do associate with ancient Egypt is the domestication of cats, but also the reverence of cats. So, there was a domestic cat god, Bast or Bastet, and cats were revered as her holy creatures. They were cats just as we have them today. Uh, if you have ever had a cat, you probably know that they are fairly independent little creatures, and by the technical definition, they're not really domesticated at all. They choose to live with us, but they're still essentially wild. They have all of their hunting instincts. They have the capability to live out in the wild. They haven't lost any of their traits. Hi, Trisha Boo. You are feral. Well, so are the colonies of cats out there. Um, so, the main difference between the cat you keep in your house and a proper wild cat is not so much in what it's capable of. Ah, hi, I'm J Faye. Yeah, this is an Egyptian section. So we are currently playing this adventurer, who's set up to be very Indiana Jones. Uh, and this is her despoiling some kind of pyramid. This is not real, not even within the game. She is here to seek her heart's desire, which is apparently a shiny sarcophagus here in this pyramid, trying to get it away from her fellow adventurers so she can take all the glory. So I was just talking about Bast. Now I'm hearing about that said as like, it's just talking about Shaft. It's just talking about Bast. Because of these lovely cat sculptures. So Bast is not a goddess that is necessarily just everywhere, although her holy felines certainly were. But you know, people and cats live together. Uh, so so to answer your question, Trisha Boo, saying that the pyramid isn't real or the whole game setting isn't real. Actually, both. So we can't tell how much of what's in the cave is literal because this cave is clearly the sort of place where you can seek your heart's desire from the world outside, where, you know, we can have a 1940s adventurer, a medieval knight in armor, and a time traveler all hanging out together. And they can't die. like Plato caves. Yes, like Plato's cave. I do think that's intentional, although it hadn't occurred to me. Anyway, so cats never really domesticated. They're still wonderful. I love them so much, and my poor kitty is not in here today, but she is probably not all that worried about it. She prefers the couch. Anyway, on with the show. Oh, okay. There's already more to talk about. I love this stuff. So here we have yet more Bast statues, which I adore. I'm just gonna guess that whoever is buried in here, they are a cat lover just like me. We do have uh, we have a round block pillar. You will see these in Egyptian architecture. I think they're very lovely. They often have like papyrus-shaped tops. We don't happen to have that here. But you can see that each stone is painted and carved on the outside, as are the stones of the inner wall. So much like I was talking about just before, we do have depictions of some story. Um, there's a little cat with a little heart, and I don't think that the Egyptians at that time would have been using the silphium-based heart shape, but I don't know for sure. Um, but thanks, Tim Schafer, anyway. Now, one thing that's caught my attention back there, behind the pillar on that wall, sort of where the shovel is pointing, is MJ Faye, unrealistic, there would be more pictures. Um, One thing that's captured my attention behind on the wall behind the pillar there is we appear to have some sort of scale holding three fish, and this design is kind of familiar to me. It's actually more of an islander design from the islands in the Mediterranean, Crete and northward. Um, it's less Egyptian and more sea folk. And if you are also a Sea People stan, where's my Sea People stan sticker? I don't know if you can read this, but I have a sticker that says Sea People stan, friends who slay together stay together. Um, that's sort of the design style I'm seeing there. Now, on the pillar itself, there are things that look a lot more Egyptian. Something that looks like it might be Amit, the goddess who devours the souls of the unworthy and such like. Amit is great. She's like every mishmash of every animal the Egyptians thought was scary. So like lion and crocodile and hippo, definitely hippo. And then Amit is a hungry gal. It's true. So then on this wall that's actually blocking us in here, we can't go further that way. We've got so we often see this pose where it's where somebody is sitting with their knees up and their face to the side. Egyptian art often tries to show you all the pieces of a person at once so that you can tell that they're not missing an eye or a limb. That isn't what's happening here, interestingly enough. They're just in that shape. Um, and they do have the little beard, which is a symbol of power, usually a pharaoh. But it also appears that that might just be a cat tail because there's a cat sitting on each of their heads, and instead of a cartouche telling you the name of the person, it's just a little ZZZ telling you that the cat is sleeping. I love this game. Okay, so we can't go in there. Let's see about further up. Okay, we've got a time traveler memory. So, all of the time travelers' co-workers at the Museum of Ancient 21st Century History are congratulating that guy on being employee of all time. I love the art on the walls, the pizza. It makes me think of Pizza John, if you're familiar with the Vlogbrothers.
You know, it's sad, really, when you think about all the grave robbers who have plundered these ancient marvels of engineering in search of priceless treasures, ruining it for future generations of grave-robbing treasure plunderers.
So, definitely stinky, yes. Um, Gotta love that narration from the cave. So we can see into one of the interior rooms here. A canopic jar with a cat head and a little cobra statue with inlaid lapis lazuli and gold. So very, very rich down there. There's an image of Anubis, one of the gods of the underworld. He's a jackal-headed god who would take a bite of the deceased's heart to taste what kind of person they were, and weigh the soul of the dead on scales. I can just barely see it. We'll probably get a better view later. But look, this pyramid still has its golden cap and the sun effect as if it were in the noonday sun. A nice shining glare, even though it's down here in this cave. So, an Egyptian doing the walk like an Egyptian pose. The reason they do that, like I said, is largely to make sure that you can see that they have all of their parts. Carrying fish towards a cat seated on a throne, which I love. And then you have a bunch of hieroglyphs in vertical columns, and those do look like actual proper hieroglyphs. I can't read them. Yes, Faint Abyssal, the Bangles. Yeah, it's a little problematic, but it is a good song. It's very problematic. But I love that, like, this whole place is a temple to Bast, essentially. And then we have a little cartouche drawing again. And it's not a name, but it's in a cartouche, or it looks like it's, yeah, it is, of our sitting guy with spikes coming towards him. Oh, and also some creepy bugs bugging around, because we inevitably think of Indiana Jones. And what do we see in Indiana Jones movies? Creepy wildlife. So, now we can actually get into the temple, it looks like. We can see that painting of the sleeping cats on guys' heads again, faintly in the background. Some bugs. Okay, so here is our cat-headed canopic jar, which we're going to be seeing again and again, it looks like. So, canopic jars are meant to hold the organs of the deceased to keep them safe. So when you mummify a dead person, the Egyptians had this down to a very scientific procedure. So they would remove organs intact, put each one in very careful preservation in a canopic jar. Often the canopic jars have very specific godheads on them. Here we see Bast because, well, it seems that the developers were big cat people, and quite frankly, I love them for that. So this canopic jar is huge. Huge. It's as big as she is. I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. What, does that have a whole person in there? But, it could have other things. It might not technically be a canopic jar. It's just the same style that you would expect. And then you have the cat head guys again. Over a fairly common decor drawing, bundled reeds. So, in here we get to use her special power.
The others gave up all thought of your return. Only I held out hope. The sarcophagus is near. Soon we shall share in the glory of our discovery.
Yeah.
Just between you and me, I don't think share is in her vocabulary. Neither is ultra-crepidarian. But a lot of people don't know that one. It's not as ubiquitous as sarcophagus.
It's true. Trying to think what that would even mean. Beyond the dawn, maybe? So our fellows have caught up to us here. We've hit a checkpoint. So that guy was not terribly clearly any of the people in the adventurer's backstory. Her two companions did not look like that guy. But he was very classic, like, adventure serial Indiana Jones style. Come on, Indy, we've got to go this way. Very colonialist, very treasure hunter. and very much a part of the experience this cave is making. So, so one thing. Okay, so we can see the sarcophagus up there, but I wanna try and look at this relief here that displays the sarcophagus on it. So, um, somebody important, but they are depicted without a beard, which is interesting. So not a pharaoh. Um, it might be a woman. I can't really tell from the way that this is drawn. It would be sort of typical of how we in the modern age think about cats for it to be a woman associated with this temple. But also, like, if it's a temple to Best, perhaps. And then we have overhead depictions of cats with the zzz, like the person is just sleeping in there. So we have a cat in the center with a headdress. Most Egyptian gods do have fairly elaborate hats. I do not know what all of them mean. This one always strikes me. It looks like a bowling ball. It looks like a bowling pin, but it is, I believe, associated with Ra, the sun god. And so a cat with wings, with a headdress indicating the sun, like on the top of the pyramid, and then to either side we have a cat sticking its tongue out to drink some kind of presumably milk that is falling from it. So if we go closer, we can see above us to the sarcophagus itself, which is clearly made of solid gold, sparkling in that way. It's got what appears to be lapis lazuli inlay. I mentioned this before, the lapis lazuli. One of the most precious stones in the Mediterranean is this blue, like this bright blue stone, lapis lazuli. It does appear that there are some other things there. Maybe we'll get a closer look when we get there. But you know, in the meantime, we can also see some really interesting stuff. So the ceiling above her, them, the ceiling above the sarcophagus, is painted with a very common depiction of the night sky. Like I said, in Egypt, in ancient Egypt, the night sky would have been not only particularly visible and particularly bright, but also it would have been it was a major part of their science and knowledge base, of their understanding of the world around them. And so it is considered to be this sort of mother goddess, the goddess of night, Mut. Nut, sorry. And so you see this sort of depiction of the blanket blue black of night pierced with stars, and that is a holy space. I don't remember if this type of floor is anything specific. It probably is. Probably something to do with moving the sarcophagus around. And here we have another frieze with some real and some fake little hieroglyphics there. We have the Ankh that has thus far been our symbol of the explorer. When we get an explorer memory, it's in the shape of an Ankh. It's the Egyptian symbol for eternal life, generally associated with gods. The whole Egyptian afterlife is very complicated. They had it very mapped out as to what happened to souls and what gods were responsible for what parts. I mean, souls were actually composed of multiple pieces, the Ba and the Ka, and there's a bunch of stuff that really, I am not an expert, but it's very, very cool. You can read their Book of the Dead. So here we have someone in a dress that actually goes all the way up to cover a set of breasts, so we're looking at what they would have considered a woman. She is wearing arm bangles. She's rich. She's wearing a wig. This is fairly typical for rich and powerful people, and especially for gods. And she's depicted with lighter skin, which is also often reserved for women who worked indoors or for noble people. In Greece, when you painted a person white, it was typically depicting a woman who was able to stay indoors. So that doesn't necessarily mean she was white in the modern sense, because they didn't really have that conception. They were able to perceive color just fine, but this is just a comparison between somebody who stays inside and somebody who works outdoors. But you can tell that that's a wig, especially by the endings, where she has it capped in what looks like gold. So that's a part of the look of the powerful, the look of the elite. She's holding an ankh, and it is doing that Indiana Jones thing. Like if you've ever seen the one where he's like holding up some kind of ankh, and then the sun shines through it onto a particular part of a thing, and it opens up very adventure story. And she's holding it at some flowers, presumably keeping them alive. They actually look like papyrus reeds, oddly enough. You wouldn't normally keep papyrus reeds in a vase like that. We can presume that they're some kind of foreign flower. Maybe catnip, based on the way the cats are looking adoringly at it. So we've got a row of 3 cats, and all of the symbols here are hearts, ankhs, and cat heads. And then we can get a closer look over here at these guys, these servants bringing fish and something. So MJ Faye says, I like when my internet hiccups and I come back to art of a goddess hand beaming some potted plants. Yeah, exactly. So I assume that it's catnip based on those cats, right? Like, amazing. And so here again we have that little the servants bearing, and you can see their pectoral collars here made of gold. They've got they've got dark dyed loincloths now that kind of wrap in the front. And they're workers, you can tell by their dark coloration. And they are carrying fish and some other goodie, presumably for the cats, based on the fact that there are little cats with little hearts in there. But then we have some more realistic hieroglyphs there. I do not read hieroglyphs, unfortunately, so I do not know what it says, but you can see some of those owl shapes and ankhs and some horned serpents, it looks like. So that's definitely a thing that's happening. We've got lots of ups and downs here. So it doesn't look like we can get that ray for now. So that's up. What's down? Well, there's a lighting change down there. So maybe we're not supposed to go that way yet. I don't know. What's that? Oh, that's the servant guys again, just cut off. We have 3 cats on a cat tree with some litter boxes. Yeah, that's a very modern thing, the way that that's depicted. But it is very cute. Oh, and I did want to point out this cobra shape. So cobra's another common depiction local to the area, but these are made out of gold and lapis, and it looks like the eyes are ruby, so very precious stone. Okay, so there's an ankh recess, so we have to go looking for an ankh to put in here to open this door, presumably. And, yeah. There are lots of spike traps in this one. Oh. Good thing we can't die. So... Alright, let's look at what's over here. Got another big golden statue of Bast next to a smaller but still quite large onyx statue of Bast. Lots of gold. A statue of... a carving of a rabbit. There are desert hares in the area. I do not know much about rabbit symbolism in ancient Egypt. I don't know, MJ Faye, if you have any input on that. Trisha Boo says, little known fact, cats don't grow on trees. They actually push all of the fruits out of the tree nest and pretend to be fruit so the plant unwittingly feeds them, thinking the cats are its brood. That's cute. I like that. That's very silly. Okay, so this is not the way, apparently. Long way down here. We've got some little spikes. Nothing going on here. We've got a narrow walkway surrounded by giant black statues of Bast. Oh, we've got an actually good look at the pillar art, which just appears to be... Okay, so that flag-looking thing is the throne the cat is sitting on, so it's just the end of the servants bringing cat treats, and then below it is the seated guys with sleeping cats on their heads. Okay, so I can take this
Many
Ankh.
believe the Ankh is an ancient Egyptian symbol of life. Some archaeologists would kill to find an example in such pristine condition. Oh, not the adventurer, let me assure you. She reserves such extreme measures for a worthier prize.
Yeah. Sure thing, bub. Over there we can see a relief of a lion, a much more commonly depicted animal in ancient Egypt, one that represents violence and war. The goddess Sekhmet, goddess of war and chaos, is a lion. She's pretty great. Oops. Walked a little too far. The Ankh, or as MJ Faye likes to call it, the sandal strap. It is particularly beautiful. Very large gold Ankh. You know, pyramids don't actually have like spike traps and stuff in them, but this is still pretty fun. Okay, so I still don't know what those treats are supposed to be. Maybe they're balls of catnip or something? Oh, we've got our little rabbit friend. Oh. A way down has appeared. Okay, so we got pairs of things that will need multiple people to... Oh, what was that? Oh, we've got a cobra with a god headdress of some sort. Can't really see what kind. And a lion. So I guess those are two buttons we need to pick up. Oh, Bastet is also a lion too, says MJ Faye. The earliest depictions were as a lion. I'm much more used to seeing Bastet as the house cat, but, you know, quite honestly, the difference is not that large. Okay. So. Nope, not this way. Oh, I can't get that way with anybody but the explorer, huh? Okay, so gotta go step on this rabbit, and we'll have our turnip boy go down the rabbit hole. Oh. So here we have all of these buttons. Oh, wow! That is a very well preserved human skeleton that is somehow still sitting upright. Look at that. That is quite amazing. But also an animal skeleton. So this is an interesting place. Some kind of repository of both people and animals. And it's been very carefully laid out. Oh yeah, it is kind of, in gameplay, it is a little bit like the Lost Vikings. I can't remember who made that game. Maybe Jeej or Trundlebot knows. Where you have to use all three of your characters in order to navigate different spaces. Really? Is that an early Blizzard game? That doesn't seem like their style. Before they became Blizzard. Aha. Okay. Okay. So... Nope, nope, nope. Not moving on yet. But I am picking up this shovel again, because I like it. Okay. So... This is not the place I need you to be. They were called Silicon and Synapse at the time. And Heroes of the Storm has them as playable characters. Oh, that's adorable. 3 little Vikings going on a journey. Oh, and now we're shut in here. So, we have our King Cobra. It's got a little beard. It's got a little headdress. Oh, it's got a double headdress, so it's Pharaoh of both Upper and Lower Egypt. And it has a little cobra on the headdress, which is adorable. We've got an ibis. This character here. That god Thoth, Jehuti, however you pronounce his name. The god of scribes and of wisdom, also a chthonic and underworld god, along with Anubis. Anubis, who I mentioned over here, our jackal god, and then the lion. So, noted that we need oops. Come on, jump all the way up. We need those 2 to get through this door. And then it looks like if we have somebody stand on the jackal, we'll be able to get upright. Oh, up. There's a cobra up there that we can use. So I move move from the lion to the jackal? No? Oh, maybe I have to move off of the serpent. Yeah, there we go. Up we go. Run, run, run. Okay. So then we have to use the ibis, it looks like. It calms this. Oh! It just makes it slower. So on the far side of the ibis, you can just see the scales of the dead, where a heart is weighed against the weight of a feather. Yeah, let's see if I can get a... Yeah, so that's very appropriate for being near a place of the dead, for certain. But one thing I think is interesting is that it's not just a heart that's depicted there, it's a canopic jar with a cat head. Okay, so it looks like our next one is Cobra by itself. Don't know what that was about.
Those
Oh!
spikes definitely weren't there a moment ago. It seems the adventurer's companions have gotten themselves into a tight spot. Fortunately, they have all these pressure plates to jump on. You know, when you're stuck in an ancient curse-ridden death trap, it usually helps to jump on everything you can. Also screaming. Screaming helps.
You heard it here, boys and goyles. Screaming helps. So, apparently, when we see that, it means that we are going to spike our friends to death. So it's time for lions. Just lions. Oops. The spikes get a bit
situation
lower.
becomes ever more perilous for our two entombed friends. Those spikes are getting awfully close. Do you think the adventurer knows? Actually, I think the real question is, does she care? In case you're wondering, that was a rhetorical question.
Okay, so we need ibis and jackal. Uh-oh. There we go. So there we have our third set of spikes, but if we kill them now, how will we get the sarcophagus out? We need 2 buttons lit.
Ah, the lost sarcophagus of the Pharaoh Taharka. Ooh, great misfortune is said to fall on those who disturb his slumber. You know, locusts, boils, peanut allergies, that sort of thing.
So an interesting reference to the 10 plagues of the Bible and the story of Exodus. Locusts and boils being 2 of the plagues. Peanut allergies not so much, but hey, you know, that happens too. So, I don't know what that button does. I'm guessing that it moves the spikes. But let's actually... Oh, I forgot to actually check what they are. Cobra and ibis. Okay. So... Who knows? Okay. So I don't have to kill my friends to do this. Nifty. I probably do have to push it from this side, though. So I don't know anything about the Pharaoh Taharka. I don't think that's a real name. Crunch. Let's just toss priceless ancient artifacts around. I'm sure it won't do them any damage. Gold is notoriously very soft. We do appear to have a cat mask on this pharaoh. I wonder if it's meant to give feminine, like female pharaoh, which did happen. Trying to remember. Nefertiti, I believe, was our female pharaoh. Oh, hello. Shortcut, anyone? No. Push. No push. Okay, what now? Jackal, apparently. Oh, yay! An adventure memory. Hatshepsut. Thank you, MJ Faye. Okay. So, this is not here. But we do see a plan for the revenge. So, the last adventure memory we had... Oh! We apparently missed one somewhere. So, there was a bitter banishment. She was left behind on one of their adventures. And we are seeing imagery consistent with Central or South America, as is in this picture. So here are her two adventurer companions, facing a very... I'm going to call this Olmec, but, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. It makes me think of the Legends of the Hidden Temple. Yeah, Trisha Boo, Legends of the Hidden Temple, exactly. Oh, there was a button where I left. Alright, thank you. So apparently she is plotting her revenge as they explore this temple. Oops, jumped too soon. There is a button up here. Oh, so there is. Whoa. Oh, I see. I have a limited time to make it go. Run, run, run. Don't get squished. Uh-oh. Will I have time? Yes!
Ooh, impressive. The adventurer does know how to get out of a tight spot, but the rest of her escape may not be so clean.
Perhaps. Oh, it's that guy. Hi, that guy.
Splendid! You've liberated the sarcophagus from its ancient vestibule. Give me a moment to disable these blasted spikes. Confounded spikes!
Uh-huh. That's gonna go well for him, I'm sure.
Who would put all these spikes in here?
No one in the real world, but that's okay.
Confounded spikes!
Huh. No doubt that was entirely accidental.
No.
Alas, now the adventurer herself is trapped, and without the sarcophagus, her former collaborator, or her current lucky companions, I fear the situation is hopeless. I wasn't planning on wrapping up her tale so soon, but I may have little choice in the matter.
Sure thing. What was that? Oh, I see. So, we have some really interesting imagery right here. So we have some new buttons. We have the feather against which your heart is weighed to see if you are worthy to be blessed in the afterlife, or if you should be eaten by Ummets. We have the Ankh, and we have the symbol of the Pharaoh, combined ruler of Upper and Lower Nile. And here we have pairs of the animals next to each of them. So what did that do? I don't know. Okay. Well, we need serpent and jackal for that. So alright, we lit a flame. So ibis and lion. It's lit. Flame number 2 is ready, and then lion and jackal. So you can stay, and you must go. Alright. So, we survived. Sort of. Okay. Right. So now we can drag this heavy stone block, which apparently has some kind of handles for dragging, onto the button. And escape. And I'm afraid that is our adventure's tale.
So our band of 3 pulled together. I couldn't devise a better team-building exercise myself. There was a bit of collateral damage at the end, but let's call it a win.
Lost the priceless sarcophagus and that poor adventurer buddy. So this is an interesting. This is very um, formal seeming, much more temple-like than the rest of this pyramid, with the flanking cat statuary and what look like torches here, but they're in the shape of papyrus reeds. Oh, it looks like we've got another adventurer memory up here. Let's find out what that is. Oh. I guess we were meant to find that first. So this is just the way out. Oh, let's see what we have going on here. We have some gate switches, but what's down there? My goodness, there's a lot down here. So we have people who appear to have fallen to their doom, and a gravestone much in the sort of modern, well, modern and pre-modern Christian sense. It's a wrought iron gate. Interesting. That's not one of the folks we have. There's a guard dog here. Hi. I don't think we can actually get in there, because that's not one of the people that we chose. I don't know which way we're meant to go here. Oh. We can get in here. How strange. Oh. But that's as far as we go. There's an invisible wall. There's a sewer. Some very modern looking trash cans and what might be a telephone booth. There's a locked door this way to a fairly modern looking area. Yet more switches. Oh. Well, I wonder if our time traveler can get through here. Yes, indeed.
No doubt you have realized by now that here in the cave, the rules of time and space are not exactly, well, set in stone, so to speak. But for the time traveler, time and space are mere playthings, tools manipulated to pay back petty slights. So, prepare yourselves for a tale of revenge that spans 1,000,000 years. And remember, even with the best of intentions, time travel can be unpredictable. And with the worst of intentions, well, I guess we're about to see. Oh, I'm sorry, I was just trying to scare you.
Alright, so at this point we are at almost 2 hours, which is double my usual stream time. I hope that I will be able to do the time traveler story, not next weekend. Next weekend I will be out, but the weekend after, I believe, I can do. So do look for an announcement then. I will try to see you 2 weeks from now, Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Thank you all so much for coming along. It has been a very fun chat, and I hope that you learned some things about ancient Egypt and Indiana Jones. All right. Keep learning, friends.